How to get exception message in Python properly. What is the best way to get exceptions messages from components of standard library in Python? I noticed that in some cases you can get it via message field like this. But in some cases, for example, in case of socket errors, you have to do something like this. I wondered, is there any standard way to cover most of these situations?
If you look at the documentation for the built-in errors, you'll see that most exception classes assign their first argument as a message attribute. Not all of them do though. Notably, environment error, with subclasses iOERA and OSERA, has a first argument of erno, second of strera. There is no message. Strera is roughly analogous to what would normally be a message. More generally, subclasses of exception can do whatever they want. They may or may not have a message attribute. Future built-in exceptions may not have a message attribute. Any exception subclass imported from third-party libraries or user code may not have a message attribute. I think the proper way of handling this is to identify the specific exception subclasses you want to catch, and then catch only those instead of everything with an except exception, then utilize whatever attributes that specific subclass defines however you want. If you must print something, I think that printing the caught exception itself is most likely to do what you want, whether it has a message attribute or not. You could also check for the message attribute if you wanted, like this, but I wouldn't really suggest it as it just seems messy.
To improve on the answer provided by an Art of Warfare, here is what I consider a neater way to check for the message attribute and print it or print the exception object as a fallback. The call to refer is optional, but I find it necessary in some use cases. Update number 1. Following the comment by @madphysicist, here's a proof of why the call to refer might be necessary. Try running the following code in your interpreter. The refer E line will print exception and the str E line will print an empty string. Update number 2. Here is a demo with specifics for Python 2.7 and 3.5, this URL.
I too had the same problem. Digging into this, I found that the exception class has an args attribute, which captures the arguments that were used to create the exception. If you narrow the exceptions that except will catch to a subset, you should be able to determine how they were constructed, and thus which argument contains the message.
Another possibility is to use the format_exc method from the traceback module.
Bildungsreport Java, Person Student Writing.